Hello crafters and welcome back to the This Calls for Confetti YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us and don't forget to subscribe. Today we're going to be making this beautifully fun faux inlay card using a ton of fun products from TCFC. Let's take a look at what we're going to be starting with. So there has been a new release last month. This is last month's release. It's really pretty. It's perfect for all of your spring needs. First thing we're going to be using, which is my favorite, is the Lattice Luxe plate and stencil, so you can foil and stencil. We've got the Bigfoot tutu layering die. This is like the cutest thing, and it can work with any of the Bigfoot dies, and I'm going to show you that right now today. The other thing we have is the spring balcony die set. This is a new set, and I absolutely love it. It's so intricate, but so elegant. And then we also have the Hop into the Unexpected 6x4 stamp set. So these are all the products that we're going to be using today, mostly new and some old, and we'll go ahead and get started. Now, I think that this tutu is really pretty, but it does take a little bit of understanding to put together. Now, all of the layers that you see on the card are pretty simple. However, that one there at the bottom, the plate with all of the little bits, that's the one that may trip you up a little bit. So I want to show you a little trick to attach all those little pieces onto your tutu in the exact spot that they need to be. Now, the packaging has a layering guide on the back, which is very easy to follow. And by looking at the colors, you can see how and what colors, how many of each you need to cut out with which die. Now, I'm using a bunch of gold because I think Mr. Bigfoot needs a beautiful gold tutu, just so that it doesn't take away too much from our faux inlay stenciling. But this is how we are going to do this. So I have all of those little die cuts for that plate, for that last plate where this is the last layer that goes on the tutu. Now I would recommend doing this. So if you have any of those pieces that stay stuck in the die, put them back into the negative die cut, into the negative cardstock that you use to cut it out with. I'm using a bit of press and seal here to help me do this, and then I'm going to use it to kind of pick up all those pieces from the front. So you want to attach it to the front of the die cut on the negative piece that it was cut from, and then carefully pull off the negative piece. This is going to allow you to keep all of those little bits in the exact position they're required to be in when you are to glue them to the tutu. Now put that aside because it's the last piece we're going to be adhering, and start putting together the actual layers of the tutu. So I think for my first layer I use like a shiny gold, and the second layer I'm using a matte gold. So these are all just specialty cardstocks. You can use colors just like it does on the packaging, a pink tutu, maybe a seafoam green. I don't know, it's up to you. Choose what you like, but I kind of stuck to whatever the packaging said for the colors. So which die should be cut from which color. So I've added the matte. Now I'm going to add the next layer, which is sparkly. It's pretty shiny here. It's a glitter gold cardstock, and it looks really pretty on the gold. Helps it all stand out and makes it look nice and frilly. So as you can see, I'm just getting that down. And then there's two more smaller, like curved pieces that go at the top of the tutu. The first one is going to be the shiny gold, just like the first layer. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Actually, no, I think it's the matte gold, sorry. So that's the matte gold. I'm putting that down. And then the last layer, I'm using the shiny gold. Sorry if I got the order wrong there, but let me take a look at the card itself. So yeah. Oh, I'm actually using the same color as the last layer for the first curved piece, and the second curved piece is like a matte gold. Again, just look at the packaging to figure out which colors are needed for which. It's pretty self-explanatory. So now we're going to do our last layer, which I think is the trickiest, but if you use this technique, I think it'll come out perfect every time. I'm just adding some glue to the back there with a very fine tip glue applicator. And then I'm going to just stick it down. You can kind of see exactly where it goes. It lines up with the curves of the frills. And I would suggest letting it dry a little bit and then coming and very carefully peeling off that press and seal. And this makes sure that those pieces get in the exact right position every time because it stays lined up as it was in the die and it fits on the die cut perfectly. So that's my little trick for getting the tutu put together. I hope you have fun with that one. We're just going to put that to the side for a second and we're going to go ahead and cut a piece of cardstock that's about big enough for our Lattice Luxe foil plate. I'm using some matte gold foil here to go along with the tutu, and I'm going to go ahead and foil this off screen. I typically don't always do my foiling on screen, but I do show you the reveal on screen as much as I can because I think that's the funnest part. So I'm going to go ahead. I like to actually put a sandwich together like this, and then I tape down the plate with the foil and the cardstock on the top and the side so it doesn't move, because I find sometimes it kind of jiggles around and then doesn't give the best impression. But look at how this came out. It's so gorgeous, and I'm so happy that this plate is out because it's so amazing. You'll probably see me use it in everything because I think it's fun. Now for the stencil, you can line it up exactly with the lines, so you only get the diamonds that you're adding ink to, or you can kind of offset it so that the diamonds, it creates like a bit of a plaid effect, so you get the gold foil diamonds in the center rather than just filling in the colors. You're kind of creating another diamond pattern on top. It looks really cool in the end, and I love that there's that flexibility to create different results with one stencil and one foil plate. So I'm adding some ink to this background now, going over the stencil, and I'm starting with some Distress Oxide inks in Kitsch Flamingo. I'm using some Shaded Lilac as the second color in the center, and then I'm going to use some Chipped Sapphire at the bottom. I just thought that these colors were very indicative of spring. You've got some pastels there, and then that deep blue at the bottom was kind of like a transition from winter to spring. We've had a pretty cold winter up here in Canada, so that that blue represents a transition from the cold winter to those beautiful pastels of the spring, and soon we'll move on to summer, right? So I'm adding my colors, and what I like to do is put down my first color, come in with the second, and then blend out with the first color in between where the colors meet. And I'm doing that for each section, and I'm really trying to deepen up the blue at the bottom there. Now keep in mind these are oxide inks, so they do have like a bit of a chalky feel to them, like a pigment type aspect to them. So it will sit on top of your foil, and you will have to kind of clean it off to get a really crisp look. So just take a dry towel or even a paper towel and just go over that foiling, and you'll see that it'll clean up nicely and it just kind of shines through. Look how gorgeous that looks. So here's a quick little tip. When cleaning up your stencil, you can always apply water to it on the side that you have applied the ink, and then press it down onto a cardstock panel, and you get a relief background here, and you could foil that too if you wanted to and use it for something else. So 2 backgrounds out of 1. Very, very cool. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down this panel now. I'm just cutting off the edges, and then I'll kind of cut it to the size that I want. Now keep in mind this card is going to be a little bit of a different size. So we're going with that stencil background being cut to 5 3/4 and 4 1/4. And then I also want to cut a white panel to 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. I put all the dimensions here for you in case you want to stop and kind of write them down and use the same type of dimensions for yourself. What this does is, as you can see, allows like a nice little border around the edge. Now I have my white panel that I just cut, and I'm taking my Love Bigfoot die, and I'm going to do my negative die cutting here. So I'm cutting the die. I'm taking the piece out. Now keep in mind you're going to have these other negative pieces that are like in between the head and the arms, and then in between the fingers that make the heart. You want to keep those because we're going to have to put those back on to kind of keep that silhouette the same as the die, right? So keep those, don't lose those. And we'll go ahead and move on to our sentiments so that we can put this together. Oh, sorry, before we do the sentiment, let's go ahead and do our, take some bushes here. So this is the balcony, the spring balcony die set, and I'm not actually going to use the balcony here. I just want to use the shrubbery. Since this card is about dancing into spring, the shrubbery is perfect to kind of add those little bits of spring in there with like the greens and the pinks that I'm going to be doing. So you'll notice you can choose colored cardstock to cut this out of, but I just used some plain white because I like to add the ink in the way that I like to. And I didn't want these die cuts to be one solid color. I wanted them to have a little bit of variety, a little bit of depth. So what I did was added ink just kind of at the corner and bottom, and you'll notice like the top and the left is a little bit more white. Now for the flowers, it's a little harder to do that, so I just plain added some purple and some pink ink onto that. These are just dye inks, and I'm going to go ahead and now attach these florals onto the bushes. And what we'll do is we'll just place that around Mr. Bigfoot there to symbolize that he's dancing among the bushes into spring. It's a really fun card, and I've got to say, as much as I love Mr. Bigfoot, I think the star of the show is his little tutu and that beautiful stenciled background that we're going to be using. So now that I've got these bushes all done, I'm just going to put them to the side here while I go ahead and move on to my next step. What I'm going to be doing is creating my card base. Now keep in mind it's going to end up being the same size as my card panel, so I kind of just scored it at 4 1/4. I folded it, I cut off the excess piece, and then I'm actually just using my stencil background just so that it's perfect to cut it down, but it should be 6 1/2 or 6 1/4, based on the dimensions from before. So I've cut that down. I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the card base here, that panel. Keep in mind you can switch it up. I've got the pink at the top. You could put it at the bottom. It's completely up to you. So I'll go ahead and get that on there. And then what I'm going to do is, before I attach the negative piece to create the silhouette, I'm actually going to stamp the sentiment on it. And in order to do this, I'm going to use a stamping platform, and I'm going to use the Hop into the Unexpected stamp set here. There's a perfect sentiment, dancing into spring, which works perfectly with Mr. Bigfoot and the tutu. Now, I was originally going to place it down at the side, but it's important to make sure that your sentiment clears the tutu. So I wanted to have the tutu kind of on an angle there, so I've put the sentiment at the top right. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that out with some plain old black ink. And it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. I love fonts. I love sentiments that have mixed fonts, and this one has like the dancing into and then spring in the scripty font. Looks really cool. So now that I've got that stamped on there, and it's important to do that before you attach this, otherwise it's going to be hard to stamp it on. I'm going to go ahead and add some dimensional foam tape here. Now this is what's going to give it that great dimensional look. If you wanted to, you could turn this into a shaker card, add an acetate piece before the foam, and then put some shaker bits in there. Completely up to you. It's another way you can kind of alter the design to work for you and be more fun or a little different. Now I've attached it to the card front. I'm going to take my die cut and place it into the negative space. And that's just going to help us line up these extra little bits that are in between Bigfoot's head and his fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and place one of them. And then the little heart that he has when he makes his little heart fingers there, I'm going to go ahead and attach that too. And keep in mind, I'm attaching both of these pieces with foam so that they're at the same level as the white negative die cut panel, so that it keeps that shape. If you were doing a shaker card, you would just attach it like flat on the acetate and it would work. So now that that's done, I can go ahead and add this amazing tutu. And because it's kind of the negative die cut is raised, I'm only going to have to add glue on like the left and the right side where it touches the white panel. I'm arranging my bushes here to just kind of get an idea of how this is going to look, and then I can go ahead and just glue everything down. So I'm gluing down the tutu, which is the coolest. Now, keep in mind there's a reason why I made this tutu gold rather than picking a bunch of other colors. I didn't want it to take away from the colors in the stencil background we have in that faux inlay look we've got going. So that's the reason why I stuck with like a neutral color like the gold, and that's why this card works and the background just pops. And even those little bushes, that's just to kind of add the element of spring, and it's very minimal because we want to keep the focus on that faux inlay look that we've got going there. So we did do a little bit of inlay if you take into account that last layer of the tutu, but the majority of this was pretty simple. Faux inlay using your negative die cut, really fun and easy to do. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna add some confetti bits here. Now keep in mind everything that I'm using in this video is linked in the description below. You can find it on the TCFC website. Besides the Bigfoot, Love Bigfoot guy, the rest of these products are all from the new release, and I think they're absolutely stunning, and I think this confetti is also pretty stunning, so that's linked below too if you wanted to grab that. So that's my final card for today. I hope that you've enjoyed watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the store. I hope that this card has inspired you to create something similar, or even just to create something with things that you have for the springtime, and hopefully those warmer temperatures come a little sooner. So again, thanks for watching, and here are a couple more videos you might want to check out. See you again. Bye.